This is a U.S.-China media brief produced by the UCLA Asian American Studies Center. The U.S.-China media brief features interviews with experts and other prominent individuals involved in studying and documenting the dynamic and ever-evolving relationship between the United States of America and the People's Republic of China. I'm Russell Leong, Director of the U.S.-China Media Brief of the UCLA Asian American Studies Center. Our purpose is to provide a more balanced view of U.S.-China relations for the U.S. media through our media brief and website. Today we're very happy to have Professor Ling-chi Wang, a leading scholar of Asian American Studies, of the overseas Chinese, and of the Chinese diaspora, and a frequent speaker in the U.S., China, and Southeast Asia on Sino-U.S. topics ranging from politics to education. Professor Wang is an emeritus scholar at the University of California, Berkeley, and is a member of the U.S.-China Media Brief Experts. 2009 is very important for China for a number of reasons. Among them, of course, is the 30th anniversary of U.S.-China normalization. Both the Chinese and the Western media, for the most part, have understandably focused upon individuals like Jimmy Carter, Deng Xiaoping, and further back Nixon, Mao Zedong, Kissinger, and their political legacy, their diplomatic communiques, visits, and overtures throughout the past 3 decades. And of course, during the past 8 years, Sino-American relations under George Bush has maintained a relatively cordial sort of status quo. In fact, Bush chose to attend the 2008 Olympics despite some reservations from others who wanted to tie his attendance with resolving long-term economic, currency, or human rights issues. In your view, though, as a Chinese-American scholar and activist, cognizant of both the U.S. and Chinese viewpoints, what are the current parameters of the U.S.-China relationship under the new Obama administration?
I think there are several areas that I think bear notice. Number one, I think the Obama administration has in fact been expanding the dialogue with China, because under the Bush administration, especially with the help of Treasury Secretary Henry Paulson, there was this economic dialogue. But the Obama administration now expanded it to include other areas, political dialogue, military dialogue, and other dialogue dealing with global issues, whether it be about trade, about climate, even about human rights, and regional security, all of which are very important. And really, these are the only 2 countries that can actually do something about these very serious problems, global and regional problems in the world. So I think that Obama administration is not only expanding the dialogue, but is actually deepening the engagement with China, and so I think that that there's a realization increasingly, I think, and a political consensus within this country that the U.S.-China relations is the most important relationship in the world today, and that in some way the 2 countries realize that they are mutually dependent on each other, and that only cooperation and engagement can really bring about a win-win situation for both countries and hopefully for the rest of the world.
I think even when Hillary Clinton, as Secretary of State, went to talk with Hu Jintao, I mean, these were some of the issues that they discussed, right?
That's right.
Yeah. Now, Obama actually today, May 16th, just nominated his person for ambassador to China. Is it John Henderson?
Huntsman.
Huntsman,
yeah.
Right. And so, do you know him, or?
No, I don't know him. But it's a very interesting appointment because, first of all, Huntsman was a very young person, and he had just barely been elected Republican governor of the state of Utah. He is a Mormon. He has, in fact, one reason why he knows Chinese is that he's been sent over especially to Taiwan, as a missionary over there, and then he was also appointed the ambassador to Singapore before, and he is supposed to be pretty fluent in Chinese as a result of these trips that he made to Asia. So it'll be an interesting. I think it'll be an interesting appointment, and I think that the and in some way, Obama is also fulfilling his promise of making his administration much more bipartisan, and this is probably one of the most important appointments that one can get as far as being an ambassador is concerned. So he has to give up his seat in Utah.
Although some Chinese Americans especially, and Americans may feel that with the appointment of Stephen Chu as Secretary of Energy and Gary Locke as Secretary of Commerce, that Chinese Americans might have a bigger voice and can serve as a bridge between the U.S. and China. And in other words, the Chinese might be more open to dealing with them. Is this thinking simplistic or not, having these Chinese Americans as part of Obama's cabinet?
I think so. I think it's somewhat simplistic, because just because there are two Chinese Americans in the cabinet doesn't mean that the relations between the United States and China is going to be improved. I think what will be improved will be the American public image of Chinese Americans. Definitely, I think that these two are going to play a very high-profile, visible role in American politics, and I think it's about time that America, because in the past, Chinese Americans are always viewed as perpetual aliens, foreigners. We have no business to be here, and now suddenly you have Stephen Chu in the Energy Department and Gary Locke in the Commerce Department. I think that will definitely help improve the American image, and hopefully, in the process, will help America gain the idea that Chinese Americans actually have been here for a long time, and that we should not view them as a foreigner, or even worse, as potential spies. And that's what happened, when Wen-ho Lee, this was only in the year 1999 and year 2000, Wen-ho Lee was working in a lab under the Department of Energy at that time, headed by Bill Richardson. And I think because of the racial profiling, Wen-ho Lee got picked as a spy. Now, I'm pretty sure that those people who work in the Energy Department, who have these strong suspicions about Chinese American scientists being disloyal and potential spy, I think they'll have to change their views about Chinese American now, because Stephen Chu is the Secretary of Energy. So I think it will help. It will help. I think, hopefully eliminate this strong tendency toward racial profiling on the one hand, and then on the other hand, racial discrimination in terms of treatment of Chinese Americans, across the country.
Yeah, you're talking in terms of media perception, and in terms of how Chinese Americans
That's
are
right.
represented, and Chinese by extension.
Mm-hmm.
The preceding copyrighted program is a property of the University of California, Los Angeles. All rights reserved. It may be used freely for educational and not-for-profit activities. For other uses or to make an inquiry, please contact the Asian American Studies Center at UCLA.